to Nebhart.
So it is upon us. Hicks and Knicks, if you'd like to call it that. Eastern Conference Finals, Racers and Pacers, if you want to call it that. And midweek, we roar into turn number one on what is going to be an epic sports weekend in Indianapolis, Indiana, as things ramp up now with game number one tonight, 8 o'clock tip between the Pacers and the Knicks. The much anticipated after the layoff. Feels like months ago that the Pacers were taking care of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Feels like months ago that we were talking about the IndyCar Grand Prix. And it feels like months ago that we thought the front runners for the Indianapolis 500-mile race were Joseph Newgarden, Scott McLaughlin, Will Power. And before we get into the Pacers and the Knicks, because I am going to do this and I will be completely transparent with all of you. Number one, no one, and that's not to say I know it more. It would be hard-pressed to find someone that, I am as well aware as anybody and as pumped up as anybody about this Pacers team and about these playoffs and the nostalgic nature of Pacers Knicks. But you know what? We love the history of it. We love Reggie. We hate Spike Lee. We don't like Marv Albert. We love the John Tesh music. We love the Davis brothers. We don't like Hubert Davis. We like Dale Davis. We don't like Charlie Ward. We don't like Larry Johnson's BS bogus 4-point play. We don't like any of those things. We like the block of Carmelo by Roy Hibbert. We like the shot from Nembhard last year. We don't like Jalen Brunson. We don't like Josh Hart. We like the heart of this team. All of it. I get it all. And I am as excited and as pumped up. And for the first time in a long time, I'm all in. I'm nervous. I'm emotional about this Pacers team. I am. After a quarter century of trying to be professionally objective and non-biased, you know what? I'm all in. Maybe I compromise it professionally. I don't know. Certainly we will report objectively on what does and doesn't happen in regards to the games, but I'm pumped. I'm psyched. And we're going to talk plenty about it because the time is here. But before we do that, we got to get to this as well. Roger Penske has spoken. And I want to thank Greg Rakestraw yesterday for filling in. I had a wonderful time co-emceeing along with Derek Schultz, the fastest rookie luncheon. Nolan Siegel, Louis Foster, Robert Schwartzman were there, the pole sitter. It was tremendous. The American Dairy Association of Indiana, winners drink milk. It was great. I love doing it. It's an honor to do that every year. I had a tremendous time last night with the Arrow McLaren drivers. Nolan Siegel again, Christian Lundgaard, Pata O'Ward, with Mission Foods at the Kroger over on Crawfordsville Road. It was awesome. And Pata O'Ward is Beatlemania. When he got in his McLaren to roar away, it was literally like watching a Michael Jackson video. Out in the wild. Like, people went crazy for Pata O'Ward. And Lundgaard, I think, is a real sleeper in this race. And I had a wonderful time this morning out at Allegiant Performance Academy on the near west side for Community Day. I'd never done that before. I went with Callum Ilott, Renus VK, Robert Schwartzman. And 168 kids from that school. We had so much fun. And let me tell you, if you're looking for a driver to root for in the race and you have no rooting interest, a guy that's a pretty quiet dude, I don't know him really well. All three of those guys were great. Robert Schwartzman came out and immediately told the kids how he loved elementary school, and it was great. Callum Ilott was absolutely spectacular with them. He was super nice with the kids, patient, had fun, laughed, took pictures. Tremendous. And Renus VK is just a good dude. But with all of that, the last time that I was here in studio 2 days ago, we talked about everything that went on with the Team Penske violation, the ruling from Doug Bowles, the removal of Will Power and Joseph Newgarden from row 4 to row 11, where Scott McLaughlin, their teammate, now sits alone at row 4. And I think everybody knows by now, but in a 10-second summary, 2 of the 3 cars entered by Roger Penske in the Indy 500 failed tech inspection for inappropriate doctoring for lack of a better phrase, of parts of the car that are not allowed to be manipulated. And they were caught doing so, and as a result, they were penalized. The team was penalized. Roger Penske has spoken. He issued the following statement about an hour or so ago. Quote, "Nothing is more important than the integrity of our sport and our race teams. We have had organizational failures during the last 2 years, and we had to make necessary changes. I apologize to our fans, our partners, and our organization for letting them down." End quote. That from Roger Penske. The changes that he is talking about, and I'm reading a direct statement from Team Penske. Team Penske announced today the departures of IndyCar Team President Tim Cindric, IndyCar Managing Director Ron Rossi, and IndyCar General Manager Kyle Moyer from the organization. Team Penske will have further announcements this week related to personnel and replacements for this weekend's Indianapolis 500. End quote. What this means is the following. Kyle Moyer serves as the race strategist for Scott McLaughlin. Scott McLaughlin's car was the one car unaffected by these changes. He suffered a crash on Sunday before qualifying, after his car had been provisionally put into the field, but not in terms of its placement. And he crashed on Sunday, and it was determined that the parts that Joseph Newgarden and Will Power's cars had been manipulated on, the attenuators, that was not the case on Scott McLaughlin's car. Thus, he was not penalized. However, Kyle Moyer, who is the race strategist for that team, has a long career within IndyCar. He's a native of Monrovia, Indiana. He is a guy that has been around racing for, his entire adult life, essentially. Worked for Gallus Craco Racing from 1989 to 1992. He worked for Green Forsyth Racing. In 1995, when Jacques Villeneuve won the Indianapolis 500, Kyle Moyer was the chief mechanic on that car. He has been with Team Penske since 2015. He is a major, and integral part of the biggest team in IndyCar. Maybe not the biggest is maybe the wrong way of saying it. A power team, a super team within IndyCar. Ron Rossi is a 21-year veteran with Team Penske. He is the managing director in different capacities he's had since moving into that job, the managing director. He has overseen for the team 3 Indianapolis 500 wins and over 40 wins for the team in general in the IndyCar series. And Tim Cindric, who is a graduate of Pike High School. He is a graduate of Rose-Hulman. Tim Cindric was with Ray Hall Racing from 1994 to 1999. He joined Penske in 1999. He ascended to becoming the president of Team Penske in 2006. He has been the main race strategist for Will Power, for Joseph Newgarden, and overseen multiple Indianapolis 500 wins. He is a member of the Hall of Fame at the Hall of Fame Museum at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Tim Cindric did tell me within the last 30 minutes or so that he is holding his head high and proud of his accomplishments and will reach back out once the dust settles on this. Not just to me, but I just mean, I'm sure he will eventually speak. I like Tim Cindric a great deal. I do. And I have a lot of respect for Tim Cindric. He has been a great ambassador for the sport, and he's been a great, in terms of with the media, he's always very open. I like Kyle Moyer a great deal. Kyle Moyer is a Hoosier through and through and a racing guy through and through. Disingenuous to say that I know Ron Rossi to the level that I know the other two. But this is what this all means. What this all means is the following. Roger Penske bought the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and with it came, and I'm not saying that he wasn't actively looking to buy it as well, but to buy the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, he also bought the NTT IndyCar Series, as well as IMS Productions, which, open disclaimer, I am a contracted employee thereof. But when Roger Penske bought the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and with it came the series, he, of course, was the owner of one of the biggest and most successful teams, and certainly in the Indianapolis 500, the most unprecedented team in terms of its number of victories within the Indianapolis 500-mile race. So for those that don't grasp what that means, if you're not a fan, and I understand it, of racing, what that means is this. This is the equivalent of if Robert Kraft, as the owner of the New England Patriots, decided to buy the National Football League. And then when he bought the National Football League and thus oversaw the competition of all of its teams, someone said, but wait a minute, you have a team in the league, and by buying it, you're now in charge of the officials and paying them. You're in charge of the other teams, and you're in charge of your team. Is this a conflict of interest? And Roger Penske said, it is not a conflict of interest because I'm going to step back from my race team's day-to-day operations, and I'm going to entrust the people I have within those chambers to handle that. And I will be still the overhead of the business operations and all that goes into the finances, the business, the development, the promotion of the IndyCar Series, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, IMS Productions, all of it. Now, since that has happened, and Roger Penske has said that that's what he was going to do, his team, Team Penske, has been found guilty by the technical side of the and rules enforcement of the IndyCar Series, which also are employees of Roger Penske, mind you. And so, therefore, this now is the equivalent, to use our analogy, to put it in a language that people can understand that may not be race fans. This is the equivalent of if Robert Kraft had purchased the NFL and overseen, not owned all the teams, but overseen the competition of the National Football League while still owning the New England Patriots. So he owns the league itself. And he says to Jim Irsay or to Jerry Jones or whatever, like, yes, you can still have teams and compete, but my team is in the NFL here. And they say, well, wait a minute, that seems like maybe the officials might be biased towards helping the Patriots. Or that seems like you're going to, like, tip the scales towards helping the Patriots. And Robert Kraft says, no. That's the thing. I'm going to step back and let the Patriots, my employees, run the Patriots, but I'm not going to be involved with that as to not have a conflict of interest. And Roger Penske had said that he was going to step aside and let his teams with integrity of the sport continue to compete with the other owners of the league that he now owns. And then Deflategate happened. Now imagine Deflategate and all of the fury with Deflategate if Robert Kraft was the owner of the entire league. So with Roger Penske, you had a scandal a year ago where you found out that 2 of his cars were using what's called push-to-pass on road and street courses, which is a button you can push that makes you go faster. Everyone has it, and it is allowed at different points and periods of the race. But there was a race last year at the beginning of the season where the push-to-pass was not to be used by anybody, but it ended up on 2 of the cars for Team Penske, and 2 of the drivers used it. And as a result of that, Tim Cindric, who was the president of Team Penske, was suspended for the Indianapolis 500. Now, a year later, you have another scandal of impropriety and other owners saying, this is strike 2 now. And what we see today is this. What we see today is Roger Penske, who had said a year ago, I'm going to give the series the most integrity possible by stepping aside and not being involved in the day-to-day operations of my team. And what he is now saying is, I trusted 3 people to uphold the Penske Perfect mantra, which is, we have known, and it has been branded as such, that Roger Penske is one, that the reason that he is a successful businessman, the reason that he has an empire within the American business landscape, the reason why he has been a successful owner in IndyCar that has won 20 Indianapolis 500s is because when Roger Penske's involved, I's get dotted and T's get crossed. And things happen within the parameter of perfection. And Roger Penske today finally sent the message of, I thought that I had built a culture where once I stepped aside, the people that I trusted to do so would be able to let me in good faith operate as is, and that people could trust me when I told them that there would be integrity within that sport. And I think Roger Penske truly felt that was going to be the case. And I'm not sitting here saying necessarily that this was all of a sudden everybody saying the cat's away so the mice shall play. The boss isn't here, so let's see if we can cut some corners or make some shortcuts. I don't know that that's what was overtly or intentionally said. But Roger Penske, as a businessman who wants to oversee and preserve the integrity of his sport, had to operate under the guise that, in fact, that is the perception. And perceptions can become reality. And so Roger Penske knew that if the perception was there, that he had entrusted his cabinet, if you will, to uphold the integrity of the sport, and he feels that they failed him, then he knew he had to make that change for the accountability and the transparency to try to allow the fan base and the competitors to know that, in fact, yes, that would not be tolerated. And so as a result, what we don't know now is who will be making the strategy calls for Scott McLaughlin, Joseph Newgarden, and Will Power. I believe this. And when I say this, I will take all the arrows that come my way. But journalistically speaking, and professionally speaking, as somebody who spends a lot of time on pit road, and drivers may tell you differently, and I respect that. I think other drivers have said differently. The push-to-pass scandal a year ago where the driver pushes a button and it makes the car go faster, if that driver is pushing that button in a race where it is forbidden, and for some reason it's on the car and it's working, the driver should know better in that case. Joseph Newgarden and Scott McLaughlin a year ago, that is on them, that while it wasn't on them to have push-to-pass available to them in a race where it was not supposed to be available, the fact that they pushed it and knew, wait a minute, I don't think this is supposed to work, but it is, instead of saying, well, I guess that means I can do it, they should have, by the letter of the law, known, look, I know that this is on, but this isn't right. I'm not supposed to use it this weekend. I get that. In terms of things like putting sealant in or filling in grooves on the attenuators of the car to get additional speed or to get additional, whether it be, just the aerodynamics, an advantage, whether it be aesthetic, whether it be that collapses it in and makes the wing a little bit tighter, which allows you to go faster. I don't know what the exact motivation would have been. And maybe I'm as dumb as the day is long, and probably other drivers will tell you I'm as dumb as the day is long when I say this, but I truly believe it. I think there are things that can happen to a car and things that the team can work on a car that the driver is totally unaware. I have said on a million occasions, my job is to talk into this microphone. And if you're watching, by the way, on the YouTube channel, thank you. And if I look tired, have a heart. But I just switched to Sanka, Eddie. However, my job is to talk into this microphone and to opine on it. There are times where this microphone may sound tingy. There are times where the wiring is a little bit off. And we have unbelievably good engineers, Nick Lopez and his team, that can come in, and occasionally when I'm not on the air, they might come in here and change a wire on the microphone. They might fasten it to a tighter level to the arm of the microphone. They might change the treble on the microphone. I have no idea of that because I'm not smart enough to understand that stuff. Now, the drivers are pretty smart, but what I'm saying is when they slide into the car, is it possible that there are parts on the car that they have no idea what might have been done to when that car was assembled? Yes, I truly believe that. And I think this is one case where, honestly, and I go a little bit based on when Joseph Newgarden was not able to take his car out on Sunday, the good nature and mood that he was in leads me to believe that he himself didn't understand the severity of the magnitude of what was taking place that day, because I don't think he truly meant. And maybe that's totally naive of me. That's fine.
I don't think he goes up into the booth with you either. If
that's what
says, I mean. Hey, they're not letting me qualify.
That's what I mean. I don't. So the bottom line is this. 3 of the biggest figures within Team Penske on the week of the Indianapolis 500 have been relieved of their duties. And these are 3 cars that are all 3 very capable of winning the Indianapolis 500, especially if they had been starting, say, in row number 4. Scott McLaughlin would have been 2 weeks ago who I told you I thought was going to win the race. I just had this feeling forever that Scott McLaughlin was going to win the race. It's going to be very challenging now. Joseph Newgarden, I absolutely think, has the car to move his way from the back of the field. But now you've got some upheaval here. You've got 3 head coaches, essentially, this would be like in the college football playoff, in the 12-team college football playoff, finding out the Wednesday before the playoff games begin that Ryan Day, Dabo Swinney, and Steve Sarkisian have all been relieved of their duties, and Texas, Clemson, and Ohio State are going into the tournament without their head coach. That's what it feels like. That's a major, major story. Davey Hamilton going to join us 2 o'clock today. We'll talk about that. He is the race strategist for for Jack Harvey. And also, of course, Davey, a veteran of the race and our driver analyst in most weekends for the IndyCar Radio Network. And I'm going to have Davey on for 2 reasons. Number 1 is because I want him to explain to people, just all of this. But also, when you're watching the race, and I know that most people that go to the 500 are, they're not necessarily totally locked in on what's going on. So I want Davey to give us I was at Community Day today trying to explain the Indy 500 to kindergarten through 6th graders. I'm not saying that you, the audience, are kindergarten through 6th graders. I don't mean that at all. But I also understand that the 500 is a huge civic party celebration, and some people may not totally get all of the strategies that go in. So I want Davey to talk to us in very simple terms about how long do you go before you have to pit? What strategies do you move if you're Jack Harvey or Joseph Newgarden and you're starting towards the back of the field? Without passing people, how can you work your way up through the field over the course of 500 miles? That kind of thing. Alexander Rossi, winner of the 100th running of the Indy 500, going to join us at 1 o'clock. And we're doing the numbers game. Do we have the breaking news sounder, Eddie, please? Okay, in the numbers game, we have them 1 through 33. And our friends from Cluster Truck are back on board. Are you ready for this, Eddie Garrison?
Yes, thank you to Evan Sherrill once again.
Okay. We are going to give away 33 numbers between now and Friday.
So today and tomorrow?
And Friday.
Okay.
Probably today and tomorrow mostly because I'll be on remote. You looked frightened when I said that.
Well, you've got your BFF hosting the show a little bit on Friday before
That's right.
You get on the headset and take the mic or attempt to take the mic back from him.
My BFF is Miss Shannon. But yes, Derek is close.
Interesting. Okay, I thought it was me, but nonetheless.
Okay. So here's how we do it. $200 to the winner, $100 to the second place prize, and $50 to the third place prize. Here's how we give away winners in the Jake Query Indy 500 brought to you by Cluster Truck numbers game.
Look at this, Jake. We've got a bunch of false starts already.
Yeah, come on, folks.
We've got infractions being made.
If you get the winning driver, you're going to get a $200 gift card to use for Cluster Truck and order yourself a fresh lunch every day if you want, up to $200. If you have the driver that is the biggest mover through the field, and if there is a tie, the tiebreaker is the one that starts further back. So basically what I'm getting at is if you get Joseph Newgarden, but if you get the biggest mover through the field, you get a $100 gift card. And if you get the driver that is the first out, whether it be to attrition, whether it be to a crash, boom, $50. 3 ways to win. We will give numbers out. But I want to get into Pacers Knicks now. With that being said, I am super stoked. I am super excited. And I think I know exactly what the Pacers are going to do to come out and punch New York in the mouth. And I'll tell you exactly that next. Alexander Rossi coming up top of the hour. Pacers Knicks tonight, game number 1, 8 o'clock tip in the Garden. Pretty good video of Reggie Miller hanging out in Central Park. People coming up and recognizing him. One guy that's like,
oh, that Instagram. I think it was an Instagram Live.
Was that? Yeah. That's
yeah.
And I thought the best was the one guy that was like, Reggie Miller, and Reggie Miller's like, yeah, man, you used to chant at me all the time how I suck. And the guy goes, yeah, I mean, I hate you, but, dude, you were awesome.
One of the greatest competitors ever.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
I watched last night Minnesota and Oak City, and Oklahoma City is really good. They're outstanding, and Minnesota's really good. Anthony Edwards is a great player. But there's something about this Pacers team. And I'm here for it. I'm here for the fact that I don't understand why do people care that like Stephen A. Smith doesn't give him credit? Okay, cool.
Well, he's a blatant Knicks fan anyway, so why does it matter?
Fine. I mean, this has been going on forever. Okay, cool. What does it matter? Like I forgot when the Colts had Peyton Manning and the Pittsburgh Steelers came in town, and every single expert picked the Colts to win easily. Did the Colts automatically go to their first Super Bowl in Indianapolis? No. They got beat. Because the games are played on the floor or on the court, whatever it might be. But the Pacers, in terms of this series, New York has a toughness about them. Jalen Brunson is the perfect Knick. The perfect Knick. Because he's gritty, he's tough, he's hard-nosed. He's New York. And I got a lot of respect for him, and I like watching him play, but not this week. And Josh Hart is a pretty fun player to watch because he can hit threes in bunches. He's got a quick release. You kind of forget about where he is on the floor, and then he reminds you very quickly. And I liked him at Villanova. But I don't like him this week. And it goes without saying, OG Anunoby. The people around here love him, want him to do well. Not this week or next. But I think the Pacers are going to punch New York in the mouth in this way, or at least try. Now, New York may have a ton of what a boxer's put on, like a Vaseline gel to brush off the severity of the punch. Big mouth guard, they may. It's very possible that this punch Indiana throws doesn't land, or it does and it makes no impact. But I believe this, and I may be proven totally wrong, and maybe in the first quarter tonight it doesn't happen, and maybe it doesn't even happen necessarily in totality in game 1. But over the course of the series, I think this is going to be the Pacers' strategy. I think we will see a bigger rotation of Thomas Bryant, Obi Toppin, playing on the inside, maybe even playing alongside Miles Turner and doubling down. And in particular, offensively, I think Indiana, while Tyrese Halliburton, a lot of times the Pacers' offense is predicated upon Tyrese Halliburton hitting shots from the outside and then that opening things up because people draw out on him, and then he uses either his first step to get to the basket or when people draw out on him, that's where he gets that midpoint entry pass to either a Turner or a Siakam, and then the ball goes down low and they get an easy basket. That's typically sometimes how that works, is if he gets his three going early, it opens up everything. I think the Pacers' game plan and the punch they're going to throw is this. Offensively, I think they are going to immediately go down low onto the block, and I think they are going to strongly encourage Halliburton to penetrate to the basket and Nembhard to get in operating areas 8 feet from the basket with his mid-range game, because I believe they are going to go out and take it right to Karl Anthony Towns, which sounds crazy because he's a unicorn. He's an outstanding player, and he's been massively effective against the Pacers this season. They've played, I believe, 3 times. Knicks have won twice. You correct me if I'm wrong with that, Eddie. But more importantly, Karl Anthony Towns is averaging 30 a game against Indiana. But I think that game planning for Karl Anthony Towns in December, January, February is different than game planning for him in May, because Karl Anthony Towns spends as much time on the floor and wipes up as much of that hardwood by sliding across it as whoever is paid, along with the guy playing the organ at Madison Square Garden regularly, to clean that floor with a mop. They're as much a part of Madison Square Garden as the organ player. But Towns, I think that the Pacers' strategy is they're going to look, and I know this sounds crazy, it sounds elementary, but I really do think that they're going to look at it and say, okay, this is a guy that is a great, great player, but Tom Thibodeau has a reputation for wearing down players late in the year. Saw it last year with Anunoby. Saw it last year to an extent with Brunson. Julius Randle was out last year. They brought in Towns. I think the Pacers look at the minutes that Karl Anthony Towns has logged. They look at the number of times that he gets knocked down and then has to get back up. That takes its toll after a while. And once players get fatigued, they start fouling. And late in games, when Indiana is wanting to move the ball around, keep that offense flowing, keep defenses guessing, they want Karl Anthony Towns, because he is a gifted offensive player, out of the floor or passive defensively, because he's got 4 fouls and he can't afford to lose another one. And they want to wear him down. And I think they see him as a very gifted player, but a guy that has at times the mobility of an injured Joel Embiid. And they're going to try to exploit it. And I think they're going to go after it right away and say, here we are. And I think that's their game plan. And then after that, I think it's just consistently rotating people through like they've done to keep players fresh and wear down New York. And I'm here for it. And I'm excited for it. And I can't wait 8 o'clock tonight. I love it. And tomorrow, for example, I'm 99% certain tomorrow, for example, Alex Pillow is going to join us very early in the show, but you can bet what our lead is tomorrow, baby. Pacers, Knicks. Let's go. I love it. And I'm not going to sit here and make bold predictions about what I think is going to happen in the series or what number of games it's going to go, so that then, like when the Pacers win in 6, I'm not going to say I told you so, but I'm just saying I think they're going to go after him and try to wear him down. We got numbers to give away, Eddie. You want to give away a couple next? We had a couple false starters, right?
All right, let's do it, yeah.
All right, other side, we'll give away some numbers for the 500. We'll continue, and I might even ask a couple Pacers questions to people when they call in for a number. And Alexander Rossi in 20. 9th Indianapolis 500 to give away, do we not, Eddie?
We do, Jake. We do indeed.
And we will do that later in the show as well. Right now, numbers game to give away. Do we happen to have the breaking news sounder by chance? This added bonus from our friends at Cluster Truck, who, of course, have the Connor Daly burger, right?
And the Kevin Bowen burger.
And the Kevin Bowen and the Jackson Lee burger.
Yep.
If you draw Connor Daly, you automatically, off the top, get a $25 gift card.
Oh, nice.
And then you have a chance to win, again, $200 if you draw the winner of the race, $100 if you get the driver that moves the most through the field in the box score, and $50 for the race runner-up. It is possible if Joseph Newgarden wins that you could pick up $300 in gift cards if he's the biggest mover. Obviously, if he wins, he's going to be the biggest mover. See how that works? Let's get right to it. We will begin with Eddie C, because anytime I see somebody named Eddie, I want to get rid of him as quickly as possible. Just kidding. All right, Eddie, what's up?
Hey, Jake, how you doing?
I'm all right. You sound like a nice guy, Eddie. Have we met before?
We've met many, many times. I'm 9-Kid Eddie.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. I haven't seen you at the race this year. Everything going okay? You're not working on number 10, are you?
No,
Okay.
I'm way too old for that. But
Okay.
I've been there. I've been there.
Wait a minute now. Are you familiar with Bill Belichick? I mean, it's anything's in play here. Okay, Eddie, what number would you like?
Go ahead and give me 9 for my kids.
Number 9. Do you like the Beatles by chance? Number 9? Number 9?
Well, I think Christian Lundgaard's going to win the race, so go ahead and give me him.
I do think Lundgaard's got a really good chance, Eddie. You got a guy. Christian Lundgaard is, of course, from Denmark. You did not get a guy from Denmark, but you did get a guy that's Dutch. Renus VK off the board.
You were hanging out with him earlier this morning, right?
I was at Community Day at the Allegiant Prep Academy. Really nice kids. And VK was great with the kids. All right, let's go to Jameson. Jameson, if I'm not mistaken, that is what McNulty drinks in the Wire, right? Doesn't he drink Jameson regularly?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely.
Jameson, what number would you like?
I'm going with the 06 for Elio.
So you're just going straight number 6. Let me ask you, Jameson straight. Let me ask you this, Jameson. Are you going to the race?
Oh, yeah.
You are? Do you know the pace car of this year's race?
Corvette.
That's correct. And Corvette has a model of car oftentimes that is the what Corvette? The Corvette what?
Stingray.
That is correct. Stingray Rob off the board to Jameson. Pat is up next. Pat, I'd like to know, do you enjoy the numbers game or do you find this to be like lazy radio?
No, it's great content. I love it. I can't wait for the next year.
Okay. Pat, you want that gift card, aren't you? Pat, are you going to the race?
No, I'm trying to sell my house. I got to stay around town.
Okay.
I'm up in Fort Wayne.
Everything going okay? The house is for sale in Indy or Fort Wayne?
Fort Wayne.
Okay. You're selling a house in Fort Wayne and you're moving to Indy or what's the deal there?
I'm moving to the little driving metropolis of Grayville, Indiana, which is just north.
Grayville.
Little Amish town.
Grayville, Indiana.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Allen
Okay.
County.
Needless to say, no dirt roads there. All gravel.
Oh, there's a lot of buggies.
Okay, Pat, what number would you like?
11.
Number 11. So, Pat, you're Hoosier through and through, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, well, so too is the guy you got, Ed Carpenter, off the board to Pat, even though Ed was born in Paris, Illinois, technically speaking. Let's go to Leonard. Leonard, what's up?
Yes, sir.
You like Leonard Skinner, Leonard?
Hey, he's all right. Like Sugar Ray Leonard.
Yeah, Sugar Ray Leonard's cool. Nothing wrong with that. All right, Leonard, what number would you like?
Let's go.
By the way, you know Leonard Skinner's a band. It's not just a dude, right? Although they named it after a teacher named Leonard Skinner, but Leonard Skinner's a band, not a dude, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody spells my name like Leonard Skinner too, and I'm like,
Really?
no, that's totally wrong.
Yeah, it's clearly
Yeah.
it's Leonard, right? I mean,
Right.
these people not know who Da Vinci is? Okay, what number would you
Yeah.
like, Leonard?
Let's go 33.
Ooh, Leonard. Have you been to the race before?
I have been a long time.
Do you still follow the race in any way, shape, or form?
Going to Carb Day this year.
There is one guy in the race that is going for history by trying to become the only driver to win 5 Indianapolis 500s. Do you happen to know who that is?
Elio Castroneves.
Elio Castroneves goes to Leonard. Elio Castroneves to Leonard. Yes, Eddie.
Tentatively scheduled to join us at Carb Day.
That is correct. That is correct. I should have mentioned that when Leonard said Carb Day. Weather permitting, Elio and Mario Andretti at this point on Carb Day, perhaps Paul Page as well. Let's go to Greg. Greg, how are you?
Good. How are you, Jake?
You know, I can't complain. I'm tired, Greg. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a little tired.
Yeah.
Can you tell I'm tired? Do I sound fatigued?
No, you do not sound fatigued. You sound
Okay.
ready to go.
I'm slap happy is what I am. What number would you like?
There you go. Well, since we're on the Elio kick here, let's go the drive for 5 and take number 5.
Number 5. You got a guy who had set a record for most positions improved in his first 5 Indy 500s. He has raced in 6 of them now, and he has never failed to finish by the end of the race. Santino Ferrucci to Greg. Santino Ferrucci is off the board. We'll go with Kevin. Kevin, I'd like to know Pacers Knicks. What's your prediction? Who wins and how many games?
Pacers, and I'd say 5.
Pacers in 5. A gentleman's sweep. Kevin's.
They're going to run them off the floor, I think.
Kevin, you are optimistic. They got to get tonight then if they're going to win in 5, right? Because they ain't going to win 4 straight after that, right?
Yeah, I think they'll pull it off tonight. I think it's going to be a big topping night.
Okay, Kevin, what number would you like?
Let's go with number 2 for Nimhard.
Kevin, are you a race fan, Kevin?
I am.
How big a race fan?
Been going to the 500 since '96.
Who's your favorite driver?
You could be calling us on Monday, by the way.
Ooh, favorite driver currently?
Yep. Who do you root for? When you go to the track, who do you root for?
I like Newgarden.
Really?
Yeah.
Which driver joined me? We're going to test you here. See how loyal you are to the show, Kevin. Which driver spontaneously joined me in the turn 3 perch during qualifying? Kevin, you're killing me. You're killing me. But guess what, Kevin? Good news is you are correct. And you got Joseph Newgarden. Joseph Newgarden goes to Kevin. A lot on the line there for Kevin. Now, you were giving me a hand signal, Eddie. Were you telling me to wrap it? Is that what you were doing?
No.
Dan, what's going on?
Hey, it's great. How you guys doing today?
You know, I'm okay, Dan. Everything going all right?
Oh, yeah, despite all the clouds, having a great day.
I know. Well, Dan, you are the human sunshine, though, right?
I try to be.
Yeah, ain't no clouds in Dan's world, right? I mean, it's Dan's world. We're just living in it, right?
Unless he's around me, then the sunshine's blocked.
That's right. Eddie, the human head eclipse. Dan, what line of work are you in?
I'm the compliance and enforcement inspector for the company, and that's what I do for a living.
Well, I got news for you. There might be some need for those in what we're talking about here. Okay, Dan, what number would you like?
14.
Number 14. Dan, you've been to the race before, right?
This will be my 37th.
Your 37th. I like that, man. Who was your favorite driver when you first started going out to the race?
A.J. Foyt.
Ooh, if it's A.J. Foyt, then I'm guessing you're a competitor. You're a rival of this guy in terms of the bloodlines, but you got Marco Andretti. All right, we'll do 2 more here. Dave and David. Dave, what's up?
Hey, how's it going?
Should we give Alexander Rossi a number, Eddie? See if he draws himself?
Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, that'd be something, wouldn't it? Dave, we're well. How are you? You doing okay?
I'm doing all right.
Dave, let me ask you something. You're a native of Indianapolis, is that right?
I am indeed.
Okay. I've got a real predicament here, a real conundrum, as the kids say on the radio show, because at the top of the show, I didn't know if I should be talking more Indy 500 or Pacers, and then I thought maybe it's 50-50, but I wasn't sure. What do you think?
I think 50-50 is a good call.
Okay.
I think they're equally powerful right now.
Dave, what number you need?
14 was what I was going to choose, but that guy chose it, so I'll go with my wife's birthday, 29.
Your wife's birthday of 29. You got the guy, Dave, whose race strategist is going to join us coming up at 2 o'clock today. Jack Harvey off the board. And we will round things out with David. David, what's up?
Hey, how you doing, Jake?
I'm good. You?
Pretty good.
What number would you like, David?
Well, let's go with 33.
David, you sound like you're tired today. Everything going okay?
Yeah,
You
good.
a coffee drinker?
No, never have.
Okay. Well, you might want to stop by Java House because Alexander Rossi is going to join us next. What number, David?
How about 33?
33 is taken, David. What number else? Give me another number.
You got 12 available?
12. Big Steve Alford fan, are you, David?
Absolutely. That's my favorite IU player.
You ever been to Canada?
No.
Never been to Canada, David? Do you want to go with me
No.
sometime? You want to go? I'm going to make a ketchup potato chip run. Do you want to go with me? We'll just load up the car and go to Canada.
Absolutely.
Have a couple moose heads. Get somebody to drive us home? Yeah, what the hell?
Right.
Well, when we're there,
Well,
we can
that
stop
would be
by
a
and
plus.
see the hometown of Devlin DiFrancesco, who is your driver. Devlin DiFrancesco. Alexander Rossi drives the Java House car number 20 for ECR. That's Ed Carpenter Racing in the old days, but Alexander's going to join us next.
hands of Paul Blevins. He's waiting to see Alexander Rossi come out of turn number 4. Tom Hansing is in the stand with him, but there he goes. And Davey, he may be out of fuel. Out of fuel. He's very slow in turn 1.
He is indeed. It doesn't sound like he's under power. Left side wheels below the white line. Now with the short two. Now in turn 2. He may be done.
That car rolls through turn number 2, and it is under power. He has backed it down big time. Here comes Carlos Munoz and Joseph Newgarden. They're running second and third. Jake Query Rossi still the leader, but he's backed the pace down.
Alexander Rossi, the rookie out of California, is backing up the pace. Carlos Munoz charging. Alexander Rossi into turn number 4 on fumes.
Alexander Rossi for the final time exits turn number 4. Here he comes, Mark James.
He may have to coast it across the finish line. Alexander Rossi almost rolling to a dead stop. Twin checkers are out, and the rookie will win the 100th Indianapolis 500-mile race.
That's how it sounded back in 2016 when Alexander Rossi, as a rookie, took the checkered flag to win the Indianapolis 500-mile race. By the way, tonight, 4:30 until 7:30, you will be able to see and meet Alexander Rossi along with Ed Carpenter, Christian Rasmussen at the Java House in Clay Terrace. So they will be there from 4:30 until 7:30, the Java House in Clay Terrace. And we expect that Alexander Rossi will be joining us shortly. He is starting now in the 12th position. I'm telling you, the guy that I just keep, like, in a weird way, I keep going back to, that I think has a shot, is Christian Lundgaard. But Rossi does as well. Rossi knows this place as well as anybody. I mean, Alexander Rossi at Indy is really, really, really good. If you're just joining us, the big news earlier today, Roger Penske is severing ties with Team Penske with longtime team president Tim Cendrick, managing director Ron Rzuski, as well as Kyle Moyer. So 3 from Team Penske now are out after the qualifying issue with the attenuators for the car. And Roger Penske, we did not hear from at first, issuing a statement, and I'm paraphrasing it now, but basically saying that the integrity of the sport is of the utmost importance, and so therefore we are making changes. They have not yet announced how that will affect or impact their roster of overseeing things, who's going to operate with which car, and et cetera. Now, while we're waiting for Alexander Rossi, or trying to get a hold of Alexander Rossi, Ed, I wanted to ask you this real quick, and then you just jump out if all of a sudden that comes to fruition. But the Fever played last night. You, of course, are the pre- and post-game host for the Fever. So that was one of those, as I understand it. I was at an event last night and was not able to see the game, but I know that it came down to, at the very end, they had an opportunity, and Caitlin Clark had a very good game. A matter of fact, their top 3 really had a good game, right? But in the end, kind of got away from them.
Yeah, so the game started out on the right foot. Like, they win the tip, and they score 5 seconds in, and you're like, all right, well, things are going well. And next thing you know, Atlanta goes on an 8-0 run, and that was pretty much how the game went for the Fever last night. They made some small runs, but every time they drew within like 4 to 6 points, and Atlanta pushed it back out to 9, Atlanta pushed it back out to 12, then they pushed it out to 14, and it just didn't get enough from the ancillary pieces around the big 3 of Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, and Kelsey Mitchell. And I think what stands out the most is that they turned the ball over 14 times. They gave up 12 offensive rebounds. They were -5 on the glass. And Atlanta capitalized most of the time off of those turnovers and points and the second chance opportunities. And down the stretch, the Fever just couldn't get enough successful baskets. That they had a chance to win it at the end, and Tasha Howard gets her shot blocked and then misses a baseline jump shot, and the Fever fall for the first time, 91-90.
Did they work to, at the end of the game, you know, did they use, I hate to say it this way, Caitlin Clark as a decoy? You know, what was the, schematically speaking, to getting the last shot? Is it one you think they wish?
So they had the reset timeout, and they to advance the ball, and they don't get to huddle up. That's the timeout that the W instituted last year that they have carried over into this season, and they had Caitlin as the inbounder. They didn't have, because she's the team's best passer, they had her inbounding the basketball, and she inbounded it from in front of the Fever bench, so where you sit on a night-to-night basis, Jake, when the Pacers were at home in the lovely Shannon P. Walsh's seats.
That's right. Important disclaimer.
Right. So Caitlin inbounds it from over there to the left block. So, like, it's first of all, the pass she made was very impressive to Natasha Howard on the left block, and her shot just gets rejected. And with the time, there was like 9 seconds left when the play started on the inbound, and then there was like 3 or 4 seconds left on the second attempt from Natasha Howard. So she pretty much had to put it up as soon as she got the ball back, and it was a good look either way. She was open, she just couldn't convert. But the free throws at the end of the game in the fourth quarter, Natasha Howard, I think, is going to look at that game and shoulder the blame, because 0 for 4 from the free throw line in the fourth quarter in a game where you lose by 1 and you shoot 16 of 26 as a team. So there are a lot of areas in which the Fever will look at this either today, last night, or whatever the case may be tomorrow morning and be like, yeah, that's a game that we certainly should have won, and maybe they get the revenge on Atlanta because they face off again tomorrow night.
Do you happen to have, Eddie, the breaking news sounder? This just in from Yahoo Sports. Eric Corgi. Have you seen Eric Corgi?
I have seen Eric Corgi.
Eric Corgi, I believe, in the Cleveland series, correctly predicted the Pacers, did he not? Or she?
I believe Eric Corgi did.
Eric Corgi is a dog, of course, that with like beach balls, there are 2 trash cans set at the bottom of a flight of stairs, one with the logo for one team, one with the logo for the other team. They basically throw the ball up to Eric Corgi. Eric Corgi then uses the snout to catapult the ball into one of the 2, basically takes shots with it, and they see which one is then the winner to advance. This is a very scientific poll to determine who's going to win in a playoff series. According to Eric Corgi, the Pacers-Knicks series will go 6 games. 6 games. And those 6 games will then send to the NBA championship to represent the Eastern Conference the Indiana Pacers. Eric Corgi predicts the Pacers will win in 6 games. I know that I say this a lot, if you really look at the math of it, but it is hard to think Game 1, when you're on the road, to me is the big one, because you want to get one of those 2. Then you're playing with house money in Game 2. And it was great that the way the Pacers were able to win Game 2 with Cleveland. But if you want to get one of the 2, it feels like the one to get that is, I'm not going to say the easiest. That's a ridiculous thing to say. But the matchup that if you can kind of sneak up, but at the same time, Indiana's had such a long layoff. I'm very curious to see. It would not surprise me at all if the Pacers come out and look really rusty tonight, at least for the first quarter. Now, they may come out humming. I mean, we'll see. But they were just, you could make the argument they were playing their very best basketball the last 3 weeks. They're healthy. They are in unison with one another. I mean, by the way, Corgi is predicting that if the Pacers get to the NBA Finals, as Eric Corgi says, they will take on the Minnesota Timberwolves, who Corgi correctly said Oklahoma City would win Game 1, but then has the Timberwolves going in 6. I'm not sure of those 2 between Minnesota and Oklahoma City if the Pacers were to advance. I would say Minnesota because they'd have home court advantage. But outside of that, I'm not certain that you can determine which of those 2 is a better matchup for them on the floor, right? I'm a little worried about Anthony Edwards.
I think I'm worried about Oklahoma City's depth because, I mean, they have Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, but they've got a lot of other pieces that can hurt you on a night-to-night basis.
That kind of offsets Indiana's strength, right?
Yeah. Oklahoma City went 10 deep last night. By the way, did you see Michael Malone was on as an NBA analyst now with ESPN, at least for the postseason?
It doesn't surprise me.
He was really, really good, I thought.
I think some of and I want people to tell me if maybe they disagree here. This is more a case with, I think, the NFL than the NBA. But I think sometimes there are too many analysts on these shows. You know what I mean? Like they They get to some pregame show, and there's a desk up there, and there's like 30 people sitting around it. And you're like, well, what are we doing here?
Stephen A. Smith, Michael Woolbaugh, and Kendrick Perkins. And
it just gets too cluttered. You know what I mean? Not that I dislike any of those guys per se.
Bob Myers.
It's just too clunky. It's hard to keep track of what's going on.
Yeah.
Who's talking, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying my hardest to figure out if Eric Corgi. I'm pretty sure Eric Corgi picked the Pacers over Cleveland, right? Like, this is a good sign.
Yes. Eric Corgi did, I believe.
It's a really good sign. Now, Eddie, it feels like forever since I've been in here, though. I was here on Monday, right?
Yes, you were here Monday.
Does it feel to you like it's been forever since I've been here?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, you took yesterday off, and you were out pretty much all last week, so I forget that you were here Monday a little bit.
Okay. I got to thinking about this as well. And people can send me their nominations. They can text them to me if they'd like. At 523-9288. That's a 317 area code. 523-9288. And by the way, I love the numbers game, but I can't give out numbers via text or tweet. I apologize. Or post or X or whatever you want to call it now. Got to be called in for the numbers game. Even though I love the fact that one of our 22 female listeners asked for a number. But if I do that, then I got to give them to everybody. But here's what I would like to know. Who do you believe, Eddie, if we were going to do a starting five of most hated New York Knicks of all time in the city of Indianapolis? Who is the starting five of the most hated Knicks of all time by Pacer fans?
I'm probably the wrong one to ask because I wasn't even born yet when it was Hicks versus Knicks in the 90s, so that was before my time.
I mean, so who would yours be? I mean, that's fine. I mean, there have been multiple eras of this rivalry. Who would you go with?
It's a good question. Ron Starks with the headbutt?
Yes.
That's all.
Yeah.
Spike Lee can't be in the starting five because he didn't play, obviously. Carmelo.
Okay. So Carmelo, are you going with Spike Lee, you said?
I can't put Spike Lee in there because he's not a player.
Not Spike Lee. I'm sorry. John Starks?
Sure.
Okay.
Why not?
Okay.
Josh Hart.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, see, this is where I struggle.
You think most people would say Patrick Ewing or no? Because Ewing was a big star, and he played on Team USA, and for that matter, Ewing missed the finger roll that would have, so that helped, right? Yeah, the Charles Oakley, Carmelo, you mentioned, Hubert Davis. Is Hubert Davis up there? I don't think people really hate Jalen Brunson, right? Josh Hart, I think, is probably high on the list. For me, the guy that most drove me nuts.
Oakley?
I mean, Oakley's up there. But Oakley's kind of – the thing about Oakley, I think people here – I'm not going to say they were fans of Oakley, but I think people kind of got it, right? Oh, Anthony Mason? Yeah, Mason's way on the list. Anthony Mason's way on the list. Now, wait a minute.
Larry Johnson?
I mean, the 4-point play, how can you not say Larry Johnson, right? The 4-point play is just the worst. And then for Larry Johnson to do that stupid LJ thing with his arms, bending them at the elbows, walking around, parading.
Did you say Derek Harper?
Derek Harper's my number one. Okay. I called Derek Harper the Condor. I don't know why. But Derek Harper would hit shots and then do this thing where he would run down the floor with this look on his face, screaming out, and he had kind of a big nose from the side, and he looked to me, Derek Harper looked to me, if you've ever been to Kings Island, and they had that eagle ride that you flew around and you navigated, like you flew through the air on these eagles and moved the wings back and forth, or the beak, I guess it was, back and forth. Derek Harper looks like that. He looks like the side of the Philadelphia Eagles, the eagle head on the Eagles helmets. But I don't know why I used condor, but that when I was a kid, that's what I'd call it. But, like, he would always hit shots. Derek Harper frustrated the hell out of me because you would literally think you were getting a defensive stop, and with 2 seconds left on a shot clock, he would hit some shot and then do that, like, screaming roar running down the floor, and it drove me absolutely bonkers. But the thing about the rivalry between the Pacers and Knicks is it feels to me like the latest installment of the Knicks aren't necessarily their most hateable players. Like, they've had some punchable guys in the past. Anthony Mason, the late, great Anthony Mason, would be one, except for that nobody in their right mind would punch that guy, right? Same with
Jalen Brunson, just because of his foul baiting.
Yeah, but Brunson, I mean, I think deep down, I totally agree that his style is maddening. But I think deep down, Jalen Brunson, people respect him. He just there's a thing about him that's kind of hard to dislike because, you know, he was a guy that played in college, won titles, a little bit undersized, and he's just a tough SOB, right? And I think people here can respect that. Now,
so a little bit of an update on Alexander Rossi.
Okay.
The ECR team was at the zoo, so
that's fun.
We don't know if Alex got lost at the zoo, or if he's still there.
You know, the last time I was at the zoo, I got to wash an elephant.
Really?
Uh-huh. And as I always say, you know why you have to wash an elephant?
Why is that?
Because it's a pachyderm. It's a pack of germs.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm just saying, you know?
Are you here the rest of the week?
Well, what we're dealing with now is that Alexander Rossi, you heard me make that call, was in turn number 4 on fumes.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of where I am right now.
Okay.
But I love it. I love everything about it. Jake, most disliked Knicks: Starks, Harper, Hart, Mason, Allen Houston. Okay, Allen Houston. There was a time, remember when Allen Houston, there was a rumor that the Pacers were going, that Reggie Miller was going to sign with the Knicks. And then the Knicks signed Allen Houston, and that forced the Pacers to have to pay a little bit more. And Donnie Walsh tells the story that Allen Houston got signed, and then because of that, Reggie was kind of like out of options, and his agent came back and was like, all right, so what's the number? And that was the entire negotiation, which is crazy to say in hindsight because Houston, a very good player, but I don't know that he was the contract that New York gave him level player. Jake, what about Latrell Sprewell? Yeah, Spree was up there, except for that it was just that one team that they really dealt with, but he was a hassle. And that team in 99 on it was the lockout year. And the Pacers, man, that was their window. It was like a 50-game season. Pacers were the 1 seed. New York upset them, went on and played San Antonio and got beat.
Who do you think would be the most hated Pacers from the Knicks' perspective?
Oh,
obviously, Reggie.
Numero uno, dos, tres, and cuatro. Yes, Reggie. Roy Hibbert, probably, because of the block on Carmelo. And that, I think a lot of Knicks fans went through such a long period of the Isaiah Dark years that then to come out of that and have Carmelo and have a pulse in the playoffs and have that changing moment of the block from Hibbert, I would think, to an extent. That's a very good question. I mean, it's so clearly Reggie Miller that it's difficult to say who else, right? Mason and Oakley, a lot of people chiming in with. Now, Crispy says this. I love Crispy, but come on. I asked the question, who's the most hated Knick by Pacer fans? Crispy chimes in with Ron Harper. What? That's got to be. Who's he thinking of? He's thinking of Derek Harper, clearly, right? He's got to be thinking of Derek Harper. Because Derek Harper did drive me crazy. David West would be disliked by Knicks fans. That's a good one.
Dale Davis?
Yeah, Davis would be up there.
Rick Smits?
Okay. So Derek Schultz chimes in and says, I hated Smits because he always, and Derek grew up a Knicks fan, he always had the game of his life against Ewing. There's a lot of truth to that. Smits was a very effective player in those series. But back to the modern era of it, I'm going to go back to, I still truly believe that this Pacers team tonight in Game 1, I think there are really 3 keys for Indiana. The first is to sustain and then wear out Towns. Because Karl Anthony Towns is the unicorn in this game. He is in the league in general, but he is very difficult to contend with. He's a big that can shoot. He's more agile than you think. He's got a very good touch around the basket. He's an exceptional player. And there's a reason New York went out and acquired him and gave up Julius Randle, who they thought the world of, for him. And it's worked out for both teams, actually. Minnesota took a while with Minnesota with, DiVincenzo and as well with Julius Randle to kind of mold and mesh in. And I think New York really missed DiVincenzo at the beginning of the year. Scott McLaughlin, big Knicks fan. Talked to him, I think it was at Thermal, and we were talking about the Pacers-Knicks, and he was saying, man, I mean, DiVincenzo, like the Knicks miss him. I think that's started to round itself out now. But their rotation is so short that they got to get maximum minutes from all of their guys. There's less margin for error of off nights with the Knicks than other teams because they don't go to the level of the number of players or the depth to replace those players. So Towns in particular, I think the Pacers have to kind of sustain and fight through the first rush that comes with Karl Anthony Towns. Because, and by that I mean the first game, maybe even first 6 quarters. Because I think they are going to say, look, we're just going to sit here and deal with that and then just grind it down slowly. And the longer this series goes, the better advantage for the Pacers. But for that reason, I really do think Rick Carlisle will continue to go deep into his bench, maybe even at the bigs position. Maybe we see Bryant, Tony Bradley, I don't know, but Bryant and Obi Toppin as well playing on the low post and just consistently rotating through and maybe even then popping up to try to get Towns off the block. I think the bottom line is this. There are 6 players on every possession that the Pacers want to see maximum movement from.
Mm-hmm.
Tyrese Halliburton, Andrew Nembhard, Pascal Siakam, Miles Turner, Aaron Nesmith. And then whatever players are substituting those. Obi Toppin, TJ McConnell, Ben Shepherd, Jarris Walker, Benedict Mathurin. If those 5 are on the floor, you want to see constant rotation and movement of those guys. The 6th is Karl Anthony Towns. Whoever Karl Anthony Towns is guarding, I think Indiana is going to incorporate them with even more fluidity. I think you're going to see Miles Turner or Siakam, either one, total, like entering into that little vortex the Pacers do of that circular movement they do around the lane because they're going to want to try to draw Towns out. You're just going to hear me say it over and over. I think they want to wear him down more than any other player.
By the way, Jake, did you see the airport? They've got the Yarder bricks. They've got the basket with a couple green flags, a checkered flag, the fighter jets. This is May sign. They've got an IndyCar there with a backdrop of the straightaway in the background. Do you think the attenuator on that IndyCar is going to pass tech inspection?
Somebody's going to take photos of it, Eddie, now that you say it, right?
Right.
Somebody's taking photos of that bad boy, I guarantee it. Hey, Jake, my most hated Knick is Jeff Van Gundy. I kind of like Jeff Van Gundy. Ever since we found out that Jeff Van Gundy had his Honda Civic parked too close to the team plane, and when the team plane took off, it like blew his Honda Civic sideways. Here's a really good one. The most hated Pacer by Knicks fans got to be Ron Artest. Yeah, that's pretty hard to argue that. We have tickets to give away to the Indy 500, Eddie. Did we figure out how or when we're going to do so?
No and no.
How many pair do we have to give away between now and the race?
So we have a pair today, a pair tomorrow, and a pair on Friday, but we may make the executive decision to give those Friday tickets away on Thursday, so double up just to give.
So people have a chance to pick them up?
Correct.
So a pair today and 2 pair tomorrow, right?
Yep.
And you're going to the race, correct?
Yeah, I'm going to the race. By the way, if you've got any tailgates, hit me up and let me know where. I'll stop by. At Eddie Garrison _ on Twitter.
Now, wait a minute. Hold on. First off, and I don't know. I'm not saying you're wrong here. I guess there are tailgates for the 500, right? I think of it more as like campouts as opposed to tailgates, right?
Yeah.
So you are offering your services to come and just hang with people?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. By the way, I got you some Surfside.
I know. It's in the fridge. It's at home.
You haven't cracked them open yet?
Not yet. They got to get
man.
cold.
Who runs your fridge? Barney Rubble? What like?
I don't know who that is, Jake.
Come on. Folks, see what I'm dealing with here? So, Eddie, you're going to be there, and your services of livening up anybody's tailgate are up for grabs, right?
Oh, Barney Rubble. Oh, my goodness.
What time will you get to the Speedway on Sunday?
That's a flagrant one foul. What time will I get there?
Yes.
Not sure yet.
What time do you plan on getting? What time did you get there last year?
Not as early as I was hoping. I carpooled.
Okay.
And the people I was carpooling with were not ready.
Yeah, that's a party
as
foul.
early
party foul.
as I wanted them
Can't have that
to be.
Man. Party foul.
I'm sorry, Mom and Dad, if you're listening.
Hold on. So wait. You weren't carpooling. You were just being a kid. Mom and Dad take me to the race. Is that it?
No,
you have to sit in the
so
back seat. You sit in the back seat. You got a kid seat.
Our house is on the way from theirs to the track.
Understood. Who drove?
I can't remember if it was Mom or if it was Dad. I think it was Dad.
Okay.
Totally sorry, Dad, if you're listening. Mom.
So you're in the back
probably
seat.
in agreement.
Were you counting license plates from different states? Is it
No,
a fun game?
No, I was not.
Okay. Trying to get the alphabet through billboards on the drive over? What time ideally do you want to get there?
Oh, if I had it my way, I would be there by 6 a.m.
Be there when the cannon goes off, baby.
I've never been there when the cannon goes off. That's the one thing I want to do.
You will jump out of your skin.
I've been to a Columbus Blue Jacket hockey game. I don't know if you've been one of those, Jake. Every time they score a goal, cannon.
No, not like this. Not like this. It shakes the ground. It's brutal. I'm telling you. Like, you know it's coming, and it still is like, I think Jason Hammer's kid is the one lighting it this year.
Really?
Yeah. You know it's coming, and it's like, holy cow, what in the world just happened? It's unbelievable. All right, so we'll give away tickets between now and the end of the show. Davey Hamilton coming up 30 minutes from now. We'll get back into Pacers Knicks, but big news, big news in relation to Sunday's race and who's not going to be there. We'll tell you next. Now, it's funny because obviously it took you a second and you realize you watched the Flintstones, correct, Eddie?
Yeah, like I told you during the break, I watched it as a kid growing up, but I couldn't tell you more than Fred Flintstone and Bam Bam and Pebbles.
Okay, I think this is right. And it's funny because the Flintstones, a Hanna-Barbera production, by the way. When I was a kid, you still had, like, Kings Island was still Hanna-Barbera land, so you had all the things with Hanna-Barbera, all of their characters in Kings Island and everything else. And I didn't realize as a kid that obviously the Flintstones, it was a primetime show when it first came out, like in the 60s. So I had no idea that I was watching, old shows, if you will. But I'm curious. You don't see it. I mean, now I guess cartoons just aren't on syndication anymore. But kids today wouldn't see it, right? I mean, what do you think, Eddie? Like, was it when you were watching it as a kid? Was it on television, or did your parent how'd you know of it?
TV. It was on television.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't really see it that way anymore.
Cartoon Network.
I think this is right.
And Boomerang.
Just tell me if my memory serves me correct. You had Fred and Wilma, and their kid was Pebbles, right? And then Barney and Betty, and their kid was Bam Bam. Is that right?
I think you have that all correct. Yeah, I know the names. Yeah, I can't recall the relationships.
You think there was ever a spinoff where Pebbles and Bam Bam became an item? Kind of like Joni Loves Chachi type thing? Be kind of cool, right? Just before we came on today, if you're just joining us on the program.
Where have you been?
Thank you. This news came out today.
What news, Jake?
In regards to the Indianapolis 500.
What news?
Well,
we saw a sellout announced yesterday. So
Correct.
what news came out today?
You know about and I think everybody knows by now, the penalty against Team Penske and the cars of Will Power and Joseph Newgarden, starting at the back of the field for the Indy 500.
Now, what's the furthest back a driver has started and won the race in the modern era of this qualifying format?
Okay, 25th for Johnny Rutherford, but it was rain shortened. Al Unser started in the 20th position and won in 87. 28th for Ray Haroon, and I believe either Louis Meyer or Wilbur Shaw also won from 28th. But here's the bottom line. When Roger Penske bought the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I don't know if it was conditional, but I know that to buy the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, at that time he also obviously purchased the IndyCar Series. And because he was one of the team owners within racing in the IndyCar Series, there was a lot of concern, primarily from other competitors, about the integrity of the sport if Roger Penske was not only the owner of a team, but the owner of its largest venue and race, and in addition to that, its governing body, its officials. As I mentioned earlier, to put it in terms for those that don't follow racing actively, this would be the equivalent of if Robert Kraft, as the owner of the New England Patriots, then purchased the National Football League and still allowed for all of the teams to have ownership and be involved, but said to them, listen, I realize because I own the Patriots and you own Jerry Jones, the Cowboys, or Jim Irsay, the Colts, et cetera, then I understand that you're going to have concern that there's going to be a bias towards the Patriots because not only do I own that team, I also own the Super Bowl. And I own the stadium where the Super Bowl is being played. And I pay the officials. So Roger Penske at that time said, I understand the optics of a conflict of interest, so I am basically separating myself from my race team. And since that happened, and as somebody who broadcasts every practice session, every qualifying session, and every race, for the most part, from what I could tell at least peripherally from the outside, is that seemed to appease people, or there was the belief that would be the case, because Roger Penske has been one through 50 years in business and in racing, has operated with that level of professionalism that people said, okay, you have earned the benefit of the doubt to show to us that is the case. At that time, Roger Penske put the trust in in his teams and basically said, guys, I'm not going to be here to oversee everything, but I trust that I've hired the right people and put you in position to do things the way that would be done even if I was here every single day. They had a rules violation that took place last year at the beginning of the year in St. Petersburg that forced Tim Cindric, who was the president of Team Penske, to miss the Indianapolis 500. And then they had this year this episode where they found on the attenuators that they had been compromised or altered, which is against team rules or against league rules for any team to do. But Roger Penske had not necessarily issued statement on that other than Doug Bowles, who is his president of his league now, issued the ruling to penalize the team. Penske today issued the following statement just about an hour and a half ago. Quote, "Nothing is more important than the integrity of our sport and our race teams. We have had organizational failures during the last 2 years, and we had to make necessary changes. I apologize to our fans, our partners, and our organization for letting them down." End quote from Roger Penske. Those changes he's talking about. The following statement from Team Penske. Team Penske announced today the departures of IndyCar team president Tim Cindric, IndyCar managing director Ron Rossi, and IndyCar general manager Kyle Moyer from the organization. Team Penske will have further announcements this week related to personnel and replacements for this weekend's Indianapolis 500. End of statement. Kyle Moyer was the race strategist on Scott McLaughlin's car, a car that did not fail tech inspection. But Kyle Moyer has been in the position since 2015 when he began with Roger Penske. He worked for Gallus Craco Racing from 89 to 92. He was with Andretti. In 1995, he was with Forsyth Green Racing and was the chief mechanic on the Indy 500 winning car of Jacques Villeneuve. But he has been in a managerial role within Team Penske, a general manager type role, since he came on board in 2015 and was relieved of his duties today. Tim Cindric, who has been the team president since 2006, joined Team Penske in 1999, was with Ray Hall from 94 to 99, has been directly involved with 3 IndyCar titles in 2014, 2017, and 2019. Ron Rosowski's been with Team Penske for 21 years. He's been directly involved with 3 Indianapolis 500 championships, 40 wins overall, and was the managing director. This was Roger Penske saying, I apologize to those that thought there was a conflict of interest. I entrusted the people that I had hired to ensure that they did not need my direct oversight in order to uphold that integrity. And I believe they failed in that role, and thus I am holding them and myself accountable. This is Robert Kraft as the owner of the New England Patriots and the National Football League having to answer to the fact that the Deflategate happened under his watch with his officials and his team. That's what this is. And it is a seismic event in terms of the Indianapolis 500 because Kyle Moyer is the one that is the race strategist for Scott McLaughlin. Tim Cindric and Ron Rosowski raced in the ears of and working through drivers throughout the course of the race. And this is a major upheaval of those that will be strategizing and determining what happens with those 3 particular teams, 2 of which, with Joseph Newgarden and Will Power, now start at the back of the field and will have a lot of work to do. And this is an example of Roger Penske saying, I promised you that there would still be integrity within the series and within my team, and I am someone who for 50 years developed the reputation in business and in racing of being one that the buck stops with me. And because I stepped aside, the people that I trusted let me and let our fans down, and so I have to make this change. That's what that news is. Davey Hamilton, by the way, joins us in 15. I want to get to a couple more numbers to give away here, but real quick, Sophie Cunningham of the Fever. There's all kinds of a mess going on, apparently, with the Phoenix Mercury and their CEO. There's a lawsuit taking place where a former employee of the Phoenix Suns has made an allegation that one of the Suns' executives was involved romantically with Sophie Cunningham in essentially an affair. Sophie Cunningham has issued a statement of the Indiana Fever denying such allegations, condemning the media outlets that reported them, and as well stating that she has never even met the employee of the Sons of Mercury that made said allegations. So, and that she essentially is focused on the basketball side of things. So we will keep an eye on that story as well. That just coming out about 10 or 15 minutes ago. Been a busy, busy day. We're also giving away numbers. Davey Hamilton going to join us just a little bit. Yes, Pacers, Knicks, of course. We're going to get to that coming up bottom of the hour in particular, get back into that. But our friends at Cluster Truck are offering the following when we do the numbers game here for the Indianapolis 500-mile race. If you get the winner, you get a $200 gift card to Cluster Truck and their fabulous menu and fresh food that is made each and every day right there. Once you order it, they don't even start making the food till you order it. $100 is the gift card for the biggest mover through the field, and $50 is the prize for the first out, the finisher of 33rd. Now, the added bonus is if you happen to get Connor Daly, you automatically get $25 right off the top because Cluster Truck has the Connor Daly burger, of course, along with Jackson Lee and Kevin Bowen burger that are still available in the month of May. If you're on hold, pay attention. The following numbers have been taken: 2, 5, 6, 9, 11, 12, 14, 29, and 33. Those numbers are all taken, okay? So, with that said, we will go right to Craig. Craig, what's up?
Not much. How are you?
I'm all right. Craig, you going to the race?
I am.
How many years you been?
This will be 32.
Love it, man. Love it. What was your first year?
94.
Oh, so you've gone almost every year since, right?
Yeah.
Good for you, man. That's good. All right. What number would you like, Craig?
Lucky 13.
Lucky. Craig, man. Craig, who do you think is going to win the race? Not who you want. Who do you think? Show's over at 3. What's that?
No, I think Newgarden's going to win.
Do you? Okay. Who are you rooting for?
Yep.
Newgarden?
No, Dixon.
Okay. Well, I got news for you, man. You got one of the biggest arrows in the bunch. Pato O'Ward. Craig getting Pato O'Ward, who I think might be the odds-on favorite right now. Matthew, shoot me a number.
17.
It was good to see you yesterday, Matthew. Ooh, Matthew. Matthew, the one you got was probably a better draw 2 weeks ago than it is today. However, keep in mind, a prize for biggest mover. You have Will Power in the Verizon machine. Michael. Hi, Michael. How are you?
I'm good, Jake. How are you?
Michael, you sound – we're going to do this again real quick because you sounded a little subdued there, and I know it's kind of a gray day, and we're worried about the weather, and I'm on fumes myself. But I'm going to ask again how we're doing, and I need a little more pep. Is that okay?
Yeah, I'm doing great, Jake. How are you?
No, hold on. Michael joins us on line 1. Michael, what's up, man? How are you?
Hey, Jake, I'm doing great, man. How are you?
There we go, Michael. That's what I'm liking. I'm well, thanks. You going to the race, Michael?
I'm not going this year.
Have you been?
I've been a few times. Yeah, it's been a while, though.
Do you enjoy it?
Oh, yeah. I like I've been more to the NASCAR the race.
You'll be listening to the race on the radio, right, Michael?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna watch it on TV.
And listening to it on the radio primarily, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, good. What number would you like, Michael?
I'll do a 26.
26. Oh, Michael, man. Michael. I was just with this guy this morning. Don't know him a lot. Been with him the last 2 days at events. Super nice young guy.
Joined our show on Monday.
the pole sitter, Robert Schwartzman, off the board. We got 2 left to do. We'll do Todd and Bill. Todd, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, Jake? You doing good?
Todd, now you sound like a nice guy, too. Have we met before, Todd?
Oh, I think here and there, down around the track a little bit.
Okay, so you're a fan of the track.
Love the track, man. Been going there for 50, 60 years.
You sound like you might be there right now. Are you fired up for the weekend?
No, I'm taking a break at work.
Okay, well, and what line of work are you in, Todd?
I'm a driver.
Oh, outstanding. Okay, well, drive safely, please. Todd, what number would you like?
Not a race car driver.
What's that?
About 20. About 20.
20. Well, Todd, here's the thing. Since you're on the phone line right now, you actually got the number of the guy we thought was going to be on the phone line about a half an hour ago, but apparently is making an appearance at the zoo and got lost in one of the cages. Alexander Rossi. Alexander Rossi, who's got a good chance in that Java House machine. ECR's got some fast cars, man, and he loves going on that outside line. Bill will round us out. Bill, how are you?
I'm doing great, Jake. How are you? Love your show.
Now, Bill, are you just saying that, or are you trying to kiss up to the host? Be honest.
No, I listen about every day.
Okay. Well, I greatly appreciate that, Bill. What number would you like?
How about 3?
Numero tres, number 3. You got the guy who last night did a pretty funny prank where he was calling all the different drivers and telling them he just wanted to say goodnight. Colton Herta off the board to Bill. Colton Herta is off the board. Pacers, Knicks. Plenty of conversation getting you set for game 1 tonight. But next, we're going to talk to a guy that's going to kind of give you the X's and O's of what to look for in the race because he's strategizing it himself. Davey Hamilton, other side. Since we're talking Pacers Knicks and we're talking Indy 500 and the confluence thereof, I always go back to, because it was pretty fun, in 1995 when Davey Hamilton was qualifying and you hear this massive roar of the crowd and Paul Page is like, Davey Hamilton's qualifying, and, you know, you can hear the crowd and how enthusiastic they are. And then he's like, actually, I think that may be because the Pacers just beat the New York Knicks in the NBA playoffs. And that was the roar of the crowd. I've always wondered if Davey actually knew that the crowd was cheering for the Pacers as, I hate to say as opposed to Davey. But Davey Hamilton, who, of course, works as the race strategist for the IndyCar radio network, but he is putting that hat aside for this weekend as he is going to be the race strategist for Jack Harvey, who will be starting in the Indianapolis 500-mile race. Jack Harvey himself setting aside a microphone from his Fox television duties. Davey joins us on the program now, and there's a ton to unpack here, Davey. Let me begin with this. Do you remember that 1995 qualifying run where everybody was cheering and you thought it was for you, and then you found out it was for the Pacers?
Well, you know, the good thing is I didn't hear it. I'm on the track, but I guess it was an interruption when. And by the way, you got to remember it was my rookie year, and we had a wheel break early in the week, and I broke my ankle. And Himmelgarn and actually Chip Ganassi gave me that car. Well, his partner Jim Hayhoe at the time gave me another car to go try. So last second, you know, we're into the day and we're going out in lane laps, and I actually bumped Emerson Fittipaldi out of the race. So my first lap by, I guess the crowd went crazy, but you're right. It was because the Pacers had just won. Not so much my good lap, but anyways, yeah, it's quite a story for sure.
But here's the thing: the Pacers deal's fun too, right? Like even right now. I mean, you live here, you know it, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. No, it's cool, right? I mean, just timing of it was perfect, honestly. So I thought, you know, half the people knew, half the people didn't know, but in the day, it was because of they won, and obviously I was pretty happy because I was making a good run at that time. So. Yeah, it all worked out.
Okay, I want to get into, Davey. Here's why I wanted to have you on, and we're going to do this in a second. And that is, I'm going to ask you some kind of elementary questions about what happens in the race so that people listening that maybe are going to the race and are going for the party, or, you know, I mean, not everybody that is going to the Indianapolis 500 is as nuanced as certainly you or myself in just the everyday of it, right? So to make people and help them enjoy it more by just kind of giving them an idea of what to look for, right? That's the big thing that I want to get on here. But before that, I'm going to do it just as if we're doing an IndyCar radio practice session and ask you simply, you know, the first question I would have is involving the attenuator story with Team Penske. Is this a situation that you believe that they were looking for competitive advantage?
That's a tough question because I personally believe that there is no competitive advantage to that personally. But there's a rule that you can't do that. That's what it all comes down to. And I guess at the end of the day, Jake, when you own the series and you own the speedway and you have so much invested in that side of it, and you have a team competing in it, you especially, talking Team Penske, you have to follow the rules more than everybody else. You can't step a foot wrong, and then I think that's where it went overboard.
And then obviously today the news, Davey, and we're talking about people that I know that you know and have a great deal of respect for, right? But Tim Cindric, Ron Rossi, and Kyle Moyer, all three, I just laid it out for everybody, but you know, being let go by Team Penske, just your overall reaction to that.
A little surprised, but I did feel this after the push to pass issue a year ago, and basically nothing happened other than some suspensions for a race or two, including the 500 for some people. That was probably okay for everybody, and everybody kind of agreed with it. And it's like, but don't let it happen again. And then when it happens again, I think people are, especially the owners, and that's the most important thing, right, is that you have to keep all the owners on the same page, make sure the integrity of the sport is at its highest, because everybody's spending a lot of money, effort, and time to do it. I felt like just milling around and listening to the owners, something needed to happen. Something big needed to happen. I thought maybe somebody may be let go, but having 3 of their top people let go really was a surprise to me. Honestly, it was pretty. That's. I think they got the respect of the owners at this point, knowing, hey, Roger did not know about this. It's unacceptable, and they made a change.
And Davey, with that, I wanted to ask you this: you were a driver, right? I mean, you've driven the 2-seater, you name it.
Yeah.
Joseph Newgarden and Will Power will now start at the back of the field. I know there are a lot of people that want to know, and maybe we'll never know this, but you can offer an insight to it. When you would get into a race car, were you aware of every single part of the car, what had been done to it, or is it possible that these two drivers were unaware of what took place?
I feel they were 100% unaware. We don't look at those details. We don't read the rule book to every little fine point like that. It's a very small, like I say, I don't think there's a performance advantage. I'll be just straight up. I just can't see it. So I don't think they knew about it now. But let's back up a year ago or a little over, where the push to pass came into effect. They absolutely knew about it, because otherwise they wouldn't be pushing the button on the first lap, because normally they don't engage. So why even try pushing it, right? So I do feel they know it. Now, I'll have to give Will Power credit, because I'm pretty sure he knew about it too, but knowing that it wasn't legal, he did not push that button.
Correct.
So in that situation, I felt they knew. In this situation, I don't think they had any clue.
Davey Hamilton, our guest, of course, you hear him on IndyCar Radio, is our driver analyst, but now wearing the hat for the Indianapolis 500 is the race strategist for Dreyer Reinbold Racing, and Jack Harvey, who starts in the middle of row number 9 at 230.348 miles per hour in his Honda. We'll begin with this, Davey. Jack's qualifying run, felt like you guys got the most out of the car, or felt like maybe there was something else out there?
Well, for sure, we did not get the most out of the car. We left some on the table, and the reason why, we went out the first time, had too much downforce. It was just too easy, too much downforce. So we waited for the whole process to go through. We decided to go for another run, knowing that we could be better, because we got rid of actually quite a bit of downforce, not just on Jack's car, but on Ryan Hunter-Reay's as well, teammate. And then we go back out the second time, and unfortunately, we missed the balance this time, Jake. So the car was much faster, but it had a huge understeer. So they're having to lift, to get the car to turn. So we ran basically the exact same time. So somewhat shot ourselves in the foot a little bit, because we didn't gain any extra speed. The good news is we were fast enough to be in the field, just not where we wanted to be. Now, we did not have speed by ourselves to run for the top 12, just straight up. We were hoping to be in that top 20, 22 range, and we're close to that. Kind of expected that, but now we feel in traffic and in race mode, we feel we have really good cars.
Okay, let's talk, Davey, just about the race itself. And I'm going to ask you some questions that you're probably going to snicker at the stupidity of them, perhaps. But I want to give – my goal here is to get everybody listening just an idea of what to look for to help them better enjoy the Indy 500, okay?
Yeah.
So we'll begin with this. In row number 1, you got Robert Schwartzman, a rookie. You got Takuma Sato, a 2-time winner, who's a pretty aggressive guy. And you got Pata Award, who's, a mega talent on the outside of row number 1. When you were a driver, is there a rule about, or is there a gentleman's agreement about, whatever it may be, will those guys get together before the race and say, okay, guys, who wants to how are we going to do this? Are we going to fall in line? Are you going to get aggressive? Do those discussions take place?
Yeah, they do take place, and it's kind of a gentleman's agreement. In most cases, it works, and not just for the front row, but pretty much for every row, that we talk to the people in that row, including the chief steward, kind of talks to us going, hey, let's get through turn 1. Let's get through the first lap. Schwartzman earned that pole. Let him go first. Then it was Sato. Then Pato, you line up behind him. And then second row, same thing. The inside, just so you kind of file down into turn 1 safely. But as you know, as a racing driver, once we put helmets on, the stupid switch clicks on.
Right.
And we go into race mode, and it's even though it's the first lap, we think it's the last sometimes, and there's some mistakes to be made. Now, another thing we got to remember, Schwartzman is a rookie. You got two-time winner of the 500, and Pato Ward, I don't need to tell you, we, as you just said, a lion of the sport, one of the best there is out there right now. they have a lot of experience, and I wouldn't be surprised me they don't get a better start than he does just in general. You're not going to slow down and wait for him. And I just feel like, those two guys could take off.
And do you kind of follow, Davey, like if you're starting, for those that are starting, like where Jack is, okay, in row 9, or even for that matter, Newgarden and Power, and maybe it's two different answers here. Do you just kind of follow automatically in line who's in front of you and then let things kind of pace out before you start making your move? Or do you, if you're Newgarden and Power, do you not want to get too far behind too early? What's the mindset?
Yeah, I think they're smart guys too, right? I mean, there's some really good cars, really good drivers in the back. And it's back to what we talked about. You have to finish that race to even have opportunity to win it. So I really feel all those guys are not going to take any big risk on that first lap, because that's where, things could happen in the middle of the field and you can get caught up in it. You're better off just kind of hold back, keep your space. Once you get a lap in, you're already kind of spread out somewhat, Jake, as you know, and then it's time to get after it, right? It's time to start lining guys up, try to make passes, see where your car is, and try to go forward from there. But that first lap, it's the first lap of 200, man. Don't make a mistake.
Okay, now, when cars come in for their first series of pit stops, Davey, okay? So for those that, like when I was a kid, I sat in the paddock right across from pit road. I was a kid, so I didn't really understand the race, but I was super excited to watch everything that takes place in the pits, the changing of the tires, everything else. So which is more like, how many laps will you do before you bring somebody in, and which becomes the faster urgency? You need new tires or you need fuel? Which one lasts longer?
Fuel lasts longer than tires.
Okay.
I mean, you'll want tires before the fuel runs out. Promise you. A good number, right, is 32 laps. I think that's a number that everybody's kind of shooting for in that 32, 33 laps. In 2022, Elio went 40 laps, but things are different. We got the hybrid, the car's a little heavier. Things I think are going to change up. And last few years, that race has been won on 5 stops, which as a strategist, I've been over my notes, time and time again. I don't know how to do it in 5 stops unless yellows come out at the perfect time and things really work in your favor. I really think it's a 6-stop race. I feel like that low 30s is going to be your number, and you're going to have some work. You have plenty of laps to kind of maneuver around that number. You can pit a little bit early. It gives you some space. So I think that's kind of a general layout of just an easy one to go after. And as we all know, there hasn't been too many yellows in this series this year. Matter of fact, that wasn't any from St. Pete all the way through Barber before there was any yellows. So this could be the same situation, although we have seen yellows in practice. It's the Indy 500. You're going a lot faster. Dirty air plays a part, and it seems to me that this hybrid unit, the weight of it, is a little bit of a pendulum on these cars with that weight in the back. Once they spin, it's hard for these drivers to recover from. They just spin so fast. And so I think it's going to be an action-packed race. I don't think it's going to be no yellows, but I think that's going to happen. And strategy could change, but right now I think that low 30s is your number to look at.
Okay, Davey Hamilton, our guest. He's on the Rhinegeist Brewery guest line, by the way. Rhinegeist Brewery, the 16th largest brewer of microcraft in the United States. Truth IPA is their specialty. Davey giving us the truth about the Indy 500. All right, Davey, over the course of the race, you talked about downforce. For those that don't know what downforce is, that's basically setting up the car from an engineering standpoint to kind of help it keep stuck to the track so that it doesn't get pushed around too much when there's wind and other cars around you. Once you get into the race pace and you're kind of away from a grouping, so to speak, do you then start to take out some of that downforce by changing the car so that you can go a little faster under the assumption you're going to have a little more isolated time?
Yeah, I think, the guy that's going to win this race sometime during that race probably will take downforce out of the car just because he's up towards the front. I think the farther back you get, dirty air, you're in a lot of traffic. I think you're still going to need that downforce, so I think it's going to be kind of split up. Now, one great thing with the cars of today, taking downforce out back in the day was not that easy because you just really had an easy nose wing change to make. And really back in the old days, you had to change your complete wicker out of the wing. It took a lot of time. You waste a lot of time in your pit stop. Well, today you can change your front wing and your rear wing within that, basically 7-second range that you're doing your normal pit stop in. So it's a huge advantage and really cool the way they could add or subtract downforce from the cars within that pit stop time.
Did you ever get? I mean, you raced here, Davey. Obviously, and I remember I think it was your last race. You had a top 10, right? I mean, didn't you come home 7th in your last race, or your second to last race, right?
So my best finish is 4th. I've had 4 or 5 top 10s, and then
ninth and 07 is what I was thinking of. Sorry about that.
That's
okay.
That's right.
So
on my comeback, matter of fact, I ran in the top 5 a lot, but if you recall, that was a rain shortened race, and I was on a really good strategy, but the rain kind of ruled us out a little bit from opportunity. But yeah.
And then any other time that you came up short, we blame Thomas Schechter, right? We just automatically do that.
There's a DNF I have in there that was 100% my fault. The car was so good all month, and I went the race and just would not turn, understeer. And as a driver, I just got frustrated. I thought, well, it must be me, driving the car different. I'm not driving it hard enough. So I went into 3, tried to go flat, front end slid up, and I hit the wall. I skimmed it, but it put me out of the game. Now, it's never more painful than when somebody takes you out on the first lap, and that's why I talk about the first lap so much, is when I got, literally taken out by Schechter on the first lap. That's not fun. I mean, he came from 3 rows back up to where I was, and I was with Marco, and I just filed in, let Marco go, and next thing I know, or we know, Schechter's up beside us, and my day ends, right? And by the way, him making that bold move, like he's going to win the race, ended up like 19th or some crazy. I mean, he wasn't even in the game. So it was that's when you're out of a race, normally you just get in your car and you go home frustrated. But I went ahead and waited at his bus that whole time. I assure you. Yeah, pretty frustrating.
Now, Davey, but in those 11 starts, you can remember the nuances and the details of things like that. Did you ever have a time where you went to the starting grid or you came down through the parade and pace laps where you were not still in the equal awe that you were the first time at the magnitude of it?
Oh, that's a really good question. It's always there. The awe of it is always there. But as a driver, there's times you go out with, and most of the time I had it, which is the confidence that I have opportunity to be an Indy 500 winner today. On that day, I thought, we can make this happen. There were a couple that I felt like, man, we just don't have it this year. We just don't have what it takes. We don't have the car, the more, whatever it was at that time. And it's not as gratifying. It's not as fun, but the magic is still there. It's still the Indy 500. All the pageantry's there. That green flag comes out. You're still battling with whoever you're battling with for 200 laps, 500 miles. It's exhilarating, honestly. I mean, I think you talk to most drivers, they've had their best days and could be their worst days ever at that track. The reason they're your worst days is because it's Indy 500. Something went wrong.
1925, 100 years ago, was the first race to average 100 miles per hour. It would take a lot for a race to average 200 miles an hour if there's a caution flag. But I'm thinking, because you talked about the fact there have not been a lot of cautions, knock on wood, we'll see what happens with the hybrid. But am I correct, Davey, in saying that if this race, in fact, is overcast and 65 to 68 degrees, that is like the perfect marriage for the cars to go really, really fast? True?
Yeah, so absolutely. What that does, it generates more power, right? The heavy air, get in the engine. You can put more fuel to it. It's heavier air. They're going to run really, really good. Downforce is high on these days like, today that's heavy air. So you can wind downforce out of it and still be fast. I think it's going to be interesting. I mean, these are the perfect days, especially for a driver. A lot of confidence. You stay cool. That's another plus with these new aero screens, which I have not raced with an aero screen. The heat creates an issue. They won't have that problem at all. I think for the fans, just wear a jacket and be comfortable, and it's going to be fun day to watch.
Okay, lastly, Davey, before we let you go, Davey Hamilton, our guest. I know, obviously, Jack Harvey goes without saying. That's the guy we're watching because you're going to be his race strategist. But if you were in the booth with us and you were working this as a race analyst, give me 2 or 3 drivers that you have watched or seen in practice over the last week that you say to yourself, Pata Award gets a lot of headlines. The Penske thing's a lot of headlines. But give me a driver or 2 that you just really look at it and go, man, their car looks really fast and they look very confident right now.
Yeah, well, until all the mayhem went down, I picked Joseph. One practice day, I watched him out there, and he was going through the field like, hot knife through butter. I mean, he was he was going. I go, man, it was unbelievable. His car was really good, so I would pick him. Now he's starting the back. That doesn't mean he doesn't have a good car, but things have changed. So to switch that around a little bit, I think Dixon and Plo have really solid cars. I think Pato, I think that's out of that McLaren camp, is going to be really solid. And don't count out, I think another one not to count out is, McLaughlin gets to start up front again. His car wasn't illegal. So I think that those guys are my probably favorites.
What about Larson?
Nah, I don't think Kyle can get the job done. And I'll tell you why. He's 22nd, I think, on the grid. He can drive anything at any time, and he can win. I love Kyle's a great guy, and I really like Kyle, and I love to see him win. Don't get me wrong on that. I just think the experience that these other guys have, the knowledge of these cars and how to drive them, they just have more experience than he does in them. Very good.
I'll give you one last one, Davey. That just like in the last couple of days, I just keep going back to it. You ready? And it would be a surprise.
Yeah.
Lundgaard.
Yeah, he's done such a great job this year. He's second in the points championship. Don't count him out. I'm with you on that. And I'm going to give you another one that it should not be a long shot, but just because the team he's with, it hasn't been all that great. It could be, and that's Sato. I mean, he's been fast, right? I mean, he's won it twice. He could have won it 3. So he could be going for his 4th win pretty easy if he doesn't spin when he's racing with Dario, right? And he's got a little magic around here. So those are 2 other guys.
And he's a well-liked guy, right, Sato? I mean, just in terms of,
Yeah. You know what? The majority of the guys in that grid are very, very great guys. I mean, very good guys. I like them all. But Sato, he's over the top nice. I mean, he's impossible to dislike. He smiles. He's happy. He's kind. And he's fast.
Yeah, it's a good driver, no question. I've always said Sato's one of those that sometimes it feels like top 3 or 33, right? It's like one or the other.
Yeah,
but
that's right. He goes for it. There's no doubt.
Yeah, but well, Davey, I appreciate it, man. As always, I know it's going to be a busy time. You squeezed in some time for us, and certainly wish you the best of luck with Jack Harvey coming up on Sunday.
All right, guys, I appreciate it. Thanks, Jack.
All right, Davey Hamilton joining us. One guy that I've seen at Pacers games a lot lately is Alexander Rossi. We got a hold of him. Did you get him out of the zoo, Eddie?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Rossi's going to join us other side.
He got pulled away by the engineers. That's why he wasn't picking up or calling us. Yeah. He was in game mode.
No problem with the car, right?
I hope not.
We'll have to find out. Couple of games ago, it might have been a month ago, and this is not totally uncommon, that I was at the Pacer game and in the little restaurant area before the game began, and there, about to take in the action, was the driver that will be starting 12th in Sunday's Indianapolis 500-mile race. Matter of fact, today between 4:30 and 7:30, we'll see if I got my hours on that correct, you can meet the drivers for ECR, Ed Carpenter Racing as formerly known, Christian Rasmussen, Ed Carpenter, and our next guest at the Java House up in Carmel Clay Terrace, beginning at 4:30. Alexander Rossi joins us on the program, and we'll begin with this. I'm going to go with the fact, I'm just going to appoint you as this. You're a Pacer fan, right?
Sure.
You've been to the games. They're here. Now, here's the thing. At the very least, Alexander Rossi, it's not as much that you're a Pacer fan, which I know you are, but you don't like the Knicks, right? You've lived in Indy long enough now that you do not like the Knicks, correct?
Well, I'm a Sacramento Kings fan, growing up in Northern California, and to be honest, I'm only an NBA fan in playoffs. But because I live in Indiana now for the past decade, and the Pacers are pretty good, and they're paying the Knicks, screw the Knicks.
That's
So
right.
That's where I'm at.
Scott
Yeah.
McLaughlin's a Knicks fan, so there you go. Go Pacers, right?
Well, he has weird taste, anyways, doesn't he?
Fair enough. All right, let's begin with this. And I want to get also the information on how people can catch up with you later today at Java House. By the way, I do love the Java House sponsorship activation because I've seen it around town a number of places. Like, you're getting some pretty serious play out of this in terms of everywhere I turn, I'm seeing the Alexander Rossi car. So I know you're happy with the sponsorship. Are you happy with the car at this point and where you start Sunday?
Am I happy with the car? Yes. Am I happy with where we start? Not really. I think that we all had pretty high expectations of what we could accomplish in qualifying, and we came up short of that. But that being said, this race, as we all know, is certainly won on Sunday and the last lap of Sunday. So, I think we're in a pretty good spot to be able to do what we need to do. And then, the Java House stuff has been incredible. I mean, obviously with Ted Gelov and Heartland Food Groups and Java House and Splenda coming on board in the off season, one of their big things was, pushing the brand and ECR and revolutionizing kind of everything that we did from a commercial standpoint. And I think it's been very successful this month.
Do you think, let me ask you this, and look, there's an elephant in the room here, so I'm just going to address it. Obviously, you know of, and we talked earlier about the changes to Team Penske that were announced earlier today. But I'm curious, two things from a driver's standpoint. I think it's unfair to ask you about what goes on in the inner workings of Team Penske. You're not a member of that team. But the changes that were being made on their cars to the attenuators, in your belief, Alexander Rossi, would those changes give a car a speed advantage?
It's impossible to say. I think when you look at Indianapolis, everyone, let's look at this in a fact that a lot of people are aware of. There's some teams that believe the angle as to which you cut a sticker for a sponsor makes a difference. So if you add all of these tiny little things up, and it's a group of 10 things, those can equate to something of significance. And if one of those 10 things is towing the line a little bit, then it'll contribute. But by itself, does it? Probably not.
How much when you're getting in the car, and maybe this is different driver to driver, how aware are you of alterations like that could be taking place to the car that you're getting into?
0%. And that's the same for everyone.
Okay, so in this case, for example, you don't believe the drivers would have been aware when they're getting in. Well, that looks different.
Correct.
Okay. Alexander Rossi is our guest. By the way, were you at the zoo earlier? Is that right?
I was at the zoo. I am now the face of the slowest spectacle in racing.
Oh, the tortoise race, right?
The tortoise race, yes,
yeah.
Sir. I got handed that baton from Tony Kanaan, so I'm the turtle guy now.
Okay, and then if I'm not mistaken, they usually have like 3 tortoises that are going towards like a big fruit buffet. 5.
Yep.
And are they named after different drivers?
They sure were.
and is one of them Rossi or Alexander?
No, because I can't commentate on myself. So there was 5 turtles, whatever. Alex Palou, Christian Lundgaard, who else? Louis Foster, someone and someone. Regardless, it doesn't matter. Palou won, which was really frustrating.
Are you serious?
So that's his fifth win.
Like really? Really?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, his turtle was the first of the fruit.
I mean, honestly, right?
Yeah, makes sense though, doesn't it?
He's been on a bit of a roll. There's no question about that.
I'm glad things are starting to look up for him.
What is the? That's right. What is the calendar like for you guys over the next? Like I was at Community Day this morning, and I was thinking to myself because it's a lot. I mean, there's a lot that you guys have to do. So I'm curious, like, does it start to kind of slide down psychologically speaking when you're getting ready for the biggest race of your year? Is it tough, even though it's fun, to do all of the auxiliary events?
It's all part of it. We talk about this race in a lot of different ways, and obviously race day is sensational. It's the thing we look forward to the most, but it's also the entire couple of weeks, right? And the way the city comes alive and the community is involved in the festivities and the traditions of it. It's all part of it. And Community Day is one step closer to race day. So it's something that we all enjoy, and it's nice to be able to have a chance to give back, especially to the kids who are such big fans of the sport.
In terms of the race itself, Alexander Rossi, I think that we have a tendency, and fans have a tendency, at the beginning of the race, I mean, there's so much expectation and hype and everything else. From a driver's standpoint, you really start to, and I know, hear me out on this, on how weird this is going to sound. Realistically, in a 200-lap race, you really start racing at what lap?
I mean, after the last stop is when things, ratchet up pretty aggressively, and intensity and track position becomes more of a thing you're concerned about. So, I mean, that's probably 170-ish is when it gets a little bit more chaotic.
And I've asked you this before, I think, but I think people find it interesting. Lap 80, lap 90, whatever it might be. And I realize you probably have this on your wheel at some point. You can see it, I guess. But do you have a lock stock idea of what place you're in and who you're running behind, like at all times? Or is there a period where you're just kind of getting through it to the next stop?
I think all drivers pay attention to where they're at on the pylon. And then, yes, what lap you're on based on, you have a lap counter on the wheel. I think, the majority of the race, assuming things are going correctly for you, you're around kind of the same guys, right, for the most part. And so you get a pretty good idea of where you're better or worse. And, the car balance and the track evolves so much through a 500-mile race that it's just about staying on top of, the conditions and, improving the car in ways when you can, and in the pit stops with either wing or pressures or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, you're thinking a lot about the end of the race, as much as you are thinking about, what you're doing in the moment, whether that's lap 15 or lap 90 or lap 150.
You've won this race as a rookie. You've been through 9 of them. The fact you won it as a rookie may make this the dumbest question I've ever asked you, which is saying something. How many races did you run in the Indianapolis 500 before you truly felt you had a total feel for all that encompasses it?
I think you learn more and more every year and every time you come back here. I don't know, probably 2019 when I was so close to getting another one and it fell away was the first time I really felt the heartbreak of this place. 2017. We had a good day going and then had some issues in pit lane. And then in 2018, we started last, and it was just about kind of recovering what we could. So, yeah, 2019 was probably when I felt the whole range of emotions for the first time.
Alexander Rossi, Christian Rasmussen, Ed Carpenter, Java House, 4:30 until 7:30. I want to make sure I'm getting this right, Alexander Rossi, today, right? Clay Terrace up in Carmel?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay, 4:30. And you're going to be there all 3 hours, or are you guys kind of rotating through?
I don't know that I know the answer to that. I think I'm getting there at 5. I have no idea when I'm leaving.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. So, again, big event, though, for ECR Racing, 4:30 until 7:30. Alexander Rossi be there about 5. Clay Terrace up in Carmel. That is at 14390 Clay Terrace Boulevard. And that Java House car is very identifiable. When it comes roaring past you, it will start 12th and maybe finish 11 spots higher on Sunday in the 500. As always, man, have a safe race, all right?
Thanks, man. Appreciate you so much. Have a good one.
All right, Alexander Rossi joining us on the Ryan Geist Brewery guest line. Again, out of Cincinnati, but now found all over Indianapolis, courtesy of our friends at Zinc Distributing. Can you tell them on fumes like Rossi was
a little
in
bit.
2016?
A little
Sorry
bit.
about that. All right, we'll come back. Pacers Knicks. Get you set up. Game 1 next. Tonight, I think one of the things that's hard for me about the Pacers in the playoffs when they're taking on the Knicks is there's just kind of this tension with it of it just feels so much more of an energy, a buzz, and a mountain when it's Madison Square Garden and it's New York City. You know, and look, I think, some players thrive on that and some players struggle with it. And, obviously last year this group thrived on it, especially in Game 7. But there is no doubt that it feels like the us against the world mentality. And, the thing about the Knicks that makes this all so challenging is, obviously I know the Pacers are aware of this, but they are a team that has a dog mentality about them, not just in game to game, but possession to possession. And I think New York has the ability to move the ball around. Clearly they have outside shooters, Hart being really good at that. And they've had good additions from a year ago, but they don't go deep. But every time that you think that you're about to get out of a possession defensively and you're going to get a turnover or an opportunity the other way, every time that happens and you think that you've got them dead to rights, it seems like they come back and hit a big shot. And then that organ starts playing and you're just like, oh my gosh, here it comes. And, I do think this. I fear that the Pacers may get down early tonight just because of the rust factor. And also that's kind of been their MO, and I want them to get out of that because eventually with each round when the stakes get higher, the competition gets better and the coming back from those things becomes that much more arduous. But with that said, it is part of their style. It is part of their strength, is being able to overcome that. And so I get it. If they get down 12 or 15, I'm going to have to condition myself, hey, stick with this. You know what I mean? That does not mean that they're totally out of it. I get it. At the same time, this is going to be a war versus a battle. And part of how, if you are the Pacers, you win the war is by just wearing them down in the individual battles. And even if you drop one here or there, having the confidence that through 6 or 7 games that New York, especially in this series, I think it's a critical thing, especially in this series where they're going every other night. So it's just 2-game layoff, 2-game layoff, 2-game layoff, 2-game layoff. I think the last between 6 and 7 is 3 games. But you're back, you're in a rhythm now. And that's, to me, that's advantage Indiana because the Pacers play in rhythm. And if they can get back to their ways like I say back to, I mean, it's just that they've been up. If they can get to the ways that they were, the way they were playing against Cleveland, then you have to feel good about it. And against Milwaukee, you have to feel good about it because their ball movement is just so crisp. Their offense is so precise when it's flowing. And it's beautiful to watch. It's awesome. I love everything about it. But they got to get that going, and then once that's flowing, and it may not happen right away. I mean, it may take a game or two for them to get all of that going, but once they do, I think it's a huge advantage because New York then all of a sudden just starts running in circles, and eventually you would think that it wears them out because they just aren't deep enough. They're really, really good, and I know they're really good, and I got a ton of respect for them. But I just don't know that they're deep enough to contend. And so that's the other thing that comes into play here is that how big advantage is that Indiana? You hope a lot. But I think they got to get one of 2 in New York. And I would just hope that, one of those is tonight. Because I think game 1 is the easier one to sneak up and steal. By the way, Eddie, and I will let you determine the number.
Okay.
We have a pair of tickets to give away, do we not?
For what?
The 109th Indy 500.
That would be accurate. We do.
How would you like to give away said tickets here to close things out? I'll just continue talking Pacers.
What's
next
your
and let
Pacers
you-
prediction, Jake?
Excellent way of doing it. I don't want to jinx anything.
Okay.
But I think the series goes 6.
Okay, so we'll do caller 6.
Caller 6 right now at 239-1070. That's 239-1070. You are on your way to the 109th running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race if you are caller number 6. Keys to look out for tonight for the Pacers. I think number 1, not letting Josh Hart get in rhythm. And number 2, letting one of your Josh Harts get in rhythm. And by that I mean whether it be Nesmith, whether it be Nembhard, getting your, I'm not going to say secondary players, that sounds the wrong way, but getting those guys going is important, okay? That's number 1. Number 2, I think for the Pacers, again, what you're going to see tonight is when they start doing that rotation, that weave around the top, it's almost like a motion offense, that circular offense they do. I think one of the things they need to do is if they are running that offense and they're moving around, they got to keep the interior of it active, sliding up and down or getting the ball and getting immediately in towards Karl Anthony Towns, because I believe Karl Anthony Towns is what they are going to try to wear down and keep on the floor and just keep going at him and going at him. The guy averaged 30 a game in the games that they played this year against the Pacers. So he's an electric performer. There's no doubt about it. And he can draw you out and shoot. But I think they're going to want to use Turner. I think they're going to want to use Toppin. I think they're going to want to use Siakam. I think they're going to try to use all those guys to just sit there and keep chipping away at that large wall before finally they break down and then they have that interior. OG Anunoby is a major X factor for New York. I don't have to tell IU fans. He's a great athlete. He's a good player. He's a very good defender for them. But Anunoby also a little bit dinged up in terms of his hamstring, so do they try to exploit that? I think the Pacers need to just be fast. That goes without saying. But saying that and doing that against that Tom Thibodeau defense and what New York presents, that two different things. I mean, it's a challenge for sure. Tomorrow's program, by the way, one of the guys that knows a little about the NBA you booked for us tomorrow, correct, Eddie?
Yeah, Kevin Harlan will join us tomorrow. He'll have the call tonight. I believe Reggie Miller confirmed will be in New York, but
Correct.
I think Jeff Van Gundy is also on the call, so we got a little three-man action going there. Yep.
And
Allie LaForce, I believe,
sides,
will
right?
be on the sideline. Yep.
So Kevin Harlan joins us tomorrow. Also on tomorrow's program, Tony East will join us. Is John here today, by the way, or is he out? John is at District Tap North or downtown? John is at District Tap. If you're north, swing by there. If he's not there, swing by the one downtown. He's at the District Tap today, but I believe it's District Tap North for JMV, and we'll bring you home. But also tomorrow, Alex Pillow going to join us on tomorrow's program. Fairly early tomorrow, so we'll get you right to Pacers Knicks coverage and then into Alex Pillow tomorrow. So as for today, we thank you for listening. We thank Davey Hamilton for his time. We thank as well Alexander Rossi. Tomorrow, more numbers to give away from Cluster Truck, more guests on the Rhine Guys Brewery guest line. We look forward to that, getting some truth from them. Of course, Truth IPA you can enjoy as well from Rhine Guys. So we'll be back with you at noon tomorrow. Kevin Harlan, Alex Pillow, Tony East tomorrow. John's up next from District Tap, and we thank you for listening to Query & Company.